I've been having a little bit too much fun with my Copic markers, so let me show you something I've made with them recently. First, I have a little bit of housekeeping things to get out of the way. So what I'm drawing with is this pink Prismacolor col-erase pencil. I've talked about this many times. I just love the way the pink interacts with the Copics and they layer on top of each other just beautifully. So that's what I'm using. I think all the tools I'll be using will be linked in the description if you want to check them out and if I forget to mention them in the rest of the video. And I'm just drawing on some basic knockoff Bristol board paper that my brother found in his room, and he's like, here you go, and I'm like, thanks, I'll take it. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm sketching very lightly at first, and then I slowly chisel away at the features. This is something I've been doing to try and keep my art more fluent and flowy and less stiff, and it's definitely helped a little bit, and I definitely need to continue practicing, and I definitely suggest it if you're trying to pull away from having stiff art, to start as flowy as possible, because as soon as you start defining the features, it's going to get stiffer and stiffer. So my plan has always been to just start as swooshy as possible, and then maybe by the time you get to the line art, it'll still maintain some of the swooshies. So that's my goal, at least. So let's see what happens. My inspiration for this drawing was definitely like fantasy, princess, mermaid, fairy thing. So I knew I didn't want her hair to really be contained by any laws of gravity or physics, and that same sort of idea definitely helped influence the colors that I chose further on down the road. Because when I start to draw and sketch and it's really just like guilty pleasure art, I don't really think about what colors I'm going to use at the end. I'm really just drawing for me, and this was definitely one of those things, but the colors were definitely inspired by like pastels and pinks and blues and greens. I don't know, things that make me think of mermaids and fairies. So you'll see that in the future. And I kept her expression very, I wouldn't say salty, but she doesn't look too pleased either. I've been drawing that a lot lately. I don't know, I used to draw like a giant huge smile on every single character that I drew, and lately I've been drawing this face. I don't know what you call it. It looks a little bit of disdain. I don't know. And I'm wondering if this is having some like deeper meaning about like where my emotional state is lately. I've just been feeling kind of meh lately, so maybe that's true. Hey, if I start drawing characters and like they all are crying with like makeup running down their faces or something, and that becomes a trend, then maybe I'll seek some help, but I think I'm alright now. It's just going through one of those spurts. I've got my eyes on the future, so everything's fine. This is getting way off topic, but this is the funny thing, is that I've always realized for the longest time that whenever I would draw like a giant smile on a character's face, I'd find myself smiling. And when I noticed this happening, I was like, well, that was kind of weird. And then like a week later, I was drawing another character with a giant smile on their face. And like while I'm doing it, I'm just sort of like acting it out, and it like helps me draw it, I've noticed. So I don't know if it's the drawing that makes me smile, or I have to smile to be able to draw the smile, but they definitely go hand in hand. So if you've ever seen a drawing that I've made that has a giant smile or a smirk or something, a smile went into that. That's actually kind of cute. A video a while back, I think it was like a month ago or something, I mentioned that I really wanted to practice when I draw long hair to actually draw realistic sections of the hair and make sure that like you could follow the hair from the scalp to the ends and it made sense. So I'm putting a little extra time into this piece, really trying to make it logical. There's definitely some parts where I cheated because I'm just kind of lazy, but it's the intent, it's the purpose. I'm trying. If I do a little bit better each time, which I definitely did more on this drawing than I have in recent past, eventually I'll do the whole head properly. So yeah, I'm proud of the growth that I'm showing, and I'm going to keep growing. I haven't been able to find any way to like practice this other than doing it. Like I can't find references that really help, and I can't find like a tutorial on how to do it, because I don't know why that is. There's just like nothing that really shows it, because I'm not drawing like realistic hair. It's so floofy right now that there aren't really things to research about this. So it really just comes down to practicing and trial and error and seeing what looks bad and what looks good and giving it your best shot and trying not to be lazy and really thinking through each strand of the hair and each clump of the hair. And the more I do this, the better I can feel myself getting at it. So that's kind of exciting. I'm not very creative when it comes to like dressing my characters, so you'll notice I literally put off the clothes this character's wearing till the last possible second. But I decided with like a sort of goddess look, so like flowers along the collar and then super flowy underneath that and like beads for sleeves, and it kind of matched the flower crown that I gave her, and I couldn't decide whether or not to give her antlers. I decided not to give her antlers. It just doesn't seem quite like something that I've drawn. I've seen people do this a lot and I always love it. It's always so cute when you draw like a little deer girl. But I decided not to, and I'm glad I didn't, mostly because of the color scheme I decided to go with. So I think it would have been a little weird to have antlers and so much blue and green and pink. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't go that route, but it would have been fun to experiment in that way. So maybe in the future. Now watch closely as I dive into coloring the skin tone. The very first thing I do, I colored in the forehead. Next, I moved on down to like the cheek area section, and I smudged the liner. I know why this happened. I used two separate liners for this drawing. One, I used the Micron PN for the eyelashes because I thought it would be easier to fill in the sort of wider section, and I thought that'd be a good idea. Turns out it wasn't. It kind of smudges with my Copic markers, so that was no good. But for the rest, oh, and then there was some on the marker, and then I did it again. But I kind of found a way to hide that in the future, so just keep watching. But I do want to mention the other liner that I used was the Prismacolor fine liners, and those did not smudge at all. Those worked wonders, so shout out to Prismacolor. I think it was the Prismacolor Premiere in 02 or 03, could have even been 05. I have all three of those. I love them. They don't smudge with the Copics like the PN did. On the bright side, I am super glad that I switched out to the Prismacolor after doing the eyes with the PN, because if I had done the whole thing in that, I think it would have been a total disaster. So yeah, see, there's always a bright side. And this is something that you just have to really look out for whenever you're drawing with very pastel colors, like the one that I chose for the skin tone, this ice blue color. You gotta be very careful with darker line arts with those. Kind of stained the end of the brush still. I wonder if I can fix that. We'll see. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know I kind of gravitate towards flat colors and bold line art, and Copic markers, I've been kind of moving in a different direction. They've kind of been forcing me that way. Well, it's not forcing me, it just made me want to experiment in that direction, seeing other people's Copic illustrations and the beautiful gradients that everyone can make. And I remember one thing someone said when I posted my very first Copic video where I was like using them for the very first time, and I said, oh, I don't need a lot of colors, I think I'm pretty set because I have the flat colors. Oops, I just banged my hand into my desk. And someone even mentioned in the comments that they were like, oh yeah, you won't need a lot of colors because of your art style and the way you use flat colors, and it was almost like a challenge. I was like, oh no, I have to really try and blend these and see what happens. And ever since I've started doing that, oh, I've just enjoyed blending different colors. So like here I'm using a green color now and blending it in with the blue and like seeing the way these colors are interacting, and it's been so much fun. And another thing, I've always used pretty cheap Copic knockoffs in the past, like Ohu, and even though those came with a lot of colors, I found myself using like the same 20 colors over and over again because I just liked them so much. But when it came to these Copic markers, I don't know if it's because I spent so much money on them. Maybe the fact that they weren't cheap, I felt like I need to get use out of every single marker. Like they each cost me a pretty penny, so I need to show them each some love, you know? And I think it's just that mindset I have that, like, you know, this cost me a lot of money, I need to use it, that it has led me to be practicing with these Copic markers so much, and I've just really been enjoying that, and I'm just glad I had that push and that inspiration to do it, and maybe spending a lot of money was just what I needed to do to be forced in this direction, and I couldn't be happier. And now I just want to like buy all the Copic markers, but I'm going to hold off, figure out which colors I like the most, and really try to limit myself. But I love the pastel colors, and I think some of them are, if you watch my video, I bought them used, so some of the colors that I really like are kind of already running low, so I might already have to buy some refills though. I need to save my money, but I'm so happy and I love them, and I've just been having way too much fun with these markers and experimenting them and like learning different techniques and like how to use them, because I'm so new to actually blending with these markers and seeing the different effects that you can get, and it's just so exciting. I feel like I keep repeating myself, but it's seriously, I'm just tickled. You notice I added a pretty simple conceptual background, and it originally started as a square, and then I kind of pulled it into more of a starburst shape, and I thought that fit the like goddess theme that I had going on, so I think that fit a lot better than the plain square. Here I'm using a Posca pen, and I am outlining the character because it's just something I like doing. I just love the way it looks and the way it makes your character pop from like a solid colored background, so I'm doing that. And I'm also using it to fix some of the mistakes. I accidentally colored in her earrings, so I'm fixing that and adding highlights to the face and the lips and other places that I accidentally colored that I didn't really want to be colored, so just going over with that. The Posca pen's really nice, especially if you're using white paper to fix mistakes. And then if you wait for it to dry, you can actually go over it with a pen and create more line art, and then go over that again with the Copic marker, and it's like your mistakes never happen. Now, if this had been just a sketch in my sketchbook, I would have ended there, but here I wanted to add more contrast to the drawing, so I'm shading even more into the hair, and then I'm also adding color to the flowers. This is the first color I'm adding, is this dark purple, almost as leaves. I guess they would be leaves, so it's almost like a floral leaf around the flowers. Then I grabbed a lighter purple color and started coloring in some of the flowers. Really sketchy. I wasn't worried about staying inside the lines. I was just trying to see if it would look good, because at this point I still wasn't entirely sure. I didn't know if this color scheme was really going to work, so I was kind of still just throwing colors around. And then the hair felt a little flat still at that point, so I went in with a pink marker and colored in some of the lighter areas, and you could actually see the pink, and I feel like it really grabbed the color scheme and blended it together a little nicer, and I really liked that. Then I went in with a sort of green color and added more dimension to the skin because it was paler than I kind of had anticipated, but I kept tweaking the background as well, blending out those colors and grabbing lighter pinks and trying to blend out the starburst to make it look less choppy. And the more I did that, the more it covered over the white Posca pen that I had outlined the character with. So after that, I had to add even more Posca pen on top of that to really make that white line bold, because it makes me happy and I really like it. I drew this in landscape technically on the piece of paper, even though it's more of a portrait, so I had to cut the paper smaller. I did all my swatching on the same paper. It's nice when you have that extra space and you can do that without having to worry about going and grabbing a swatch page, especially since it's the exact same paper you're drawing on, so you don't have to worry about the colors looking different on the paper that you're using compared to the paper that you're swatching on, so pretty handy dandy. Anyway, this was my finished illustration. This was definitely one of those guilty pleasure drawings that just really got me in the mood to draw more, and so now I'm in like a really good mood. I hope maybe it'll rub off on you a little bit and you can have some of this inspiration. It just feels so good. Oh my gosh. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and supporting my channel and just being there. It really helps me create when I know that I'm surrounded by other people that also enjoy creating and are putting their best into their art, and it's just such a nice community, and I'm so glad to be a part of it and to be here. So thank you for being here too and making it what it is. So thank you, and I'll see you guys all next week, and I hope you have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye.